Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Susan, and I will be your moderator for this session tonight. And I'm really excited. This is a new presentation for OTF Connects. We're welcoming Joe Grabowski for the first time to these sessions. He's a teacher in Upper Grand and does all kinds of amazing things. I've been looking at his slideshow. He's not just a teacher, he's quite an adventurer by the looks of things. And he loves to bring some of that adventure into his classroom with experiences from all over the world. I want to say that there's some new news just this week, I believe, and Joe, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I just put a link in the chat to an article from National Geographic. Every year they have a group that they call Emerging Explorers, and Joe is he's the only Canadian in this year's list, 2017. So congratulations. That article will explain the program and give you a little bio on all of the other people as well, but that's quite an honor. And we're very excited to welcome you here tonight, Joe. So I'm going to turn off my mic, and I'll turn things over to him. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to Joe.
All right, Susan, thank you so much. Thank you for the intro. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. As Susan did mention, there was an announcement yesterday for the 2017 class of Emerging Explorer, so I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to be selected by National Geographic. And we'll talk a little bit more about National Geographic and some of the amazing resources that they have available to classrooms a little further on in the presentation. So for tonight, it's going to be broken up into a few parts. I'm going to start off talking a little bit about what happened when I brought technology into my classroom to open up my classroom and how it totally changed the way I teach by bringing in my passions for things like science, nature, and exploration, and how I've never looked back. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the resources that I use to open up my classroom to the world, and they're all pretty simple resources, things you should be able to start in your classroom as soon as this week. And we're going to spend some time talking about exploring by the seat of your pants. So it's a non-for-profit education organization I've started. It's in year 2 right now, and it's growing really quickly. So again, thanks everybody for hanging out today. Please feel free at any time to go ahead and ask a question, whether you want to jump in on your mic or put your hand up or use the chat sidebar. There's tons of ways to jump in and have your questions heard. I'll also pause from time to time after maybe we finish the topic and see if there's any questions. So, as Susan did mention, we will be jumping onto YouTube tonight to play a few videos, and some of them I'll tell you how much to play, maybe like the first minute or two of some of them. So if you want to have a YouTube window open on your computer that you can jump to quickly, that might make things a little bit easier. And I recommend that you use YouTube either through Google Chrome or through Firefox. There is at one stage, we'll jump into a 360 video, and the only way to manipulate the video is with one of those two browsers. It doesn't seem to work with the Safari. So Google Chrome or Firefox to follow the YouTube links. So my presentation is called Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And it's a little reference on, well, 2 things. One, that we really can take classrooms anywhere, and they never have to leave their seats. We can open up a lot of the world to them now through technology. And the second reason is that I'm constantly learning. Everything starts off new. Sometimes I feel like I'm flying by the seat of my pants, but it all seems to work out somehow, including this not-for-profit organization that I'm running now. I still don't really know what I'm doing, but it seems to be working out. So let's jump right into it. A little bit more about me. I'm a grade 7 math and science teacher in Guelph, Ontario. You can see here a picture. It's my wife, Liz, and my little guy, Finn. He's in JK now. And I'll just jump ahead a slide. And here's our new addition. This is Nora. Nora is 7 months old now and never stops smiling, and she's into the solid foods now, which is pretty cool. And actually, we just put the 2 to bed, so hopefully they're down for the night, and we don't have any surprise guests this evening. I'm going to back up just a second. So you can see some of the activities I like to take part in. wakeboarding, zip lining, adventure activities. The kind of things that I think maybe freak my wife and mother out a little bit, but they're the things I like to do, and they're a lot of fun, and it's all about calculated risks and measuring risk. I lived in Australia for a year in 2007 while my wife went to teacher's college in a city called Wollongong, about an hour south from Sydney on the coast. And it was an incredible year. I spent the year bartending, traveling, really experiencing the country, and I think that's when I first realized I wanted to be a teacher. I really decided I wanted to share my passion for travel, for adventure, for exploration, nature and science with students, and see if I could make a difference and share a little bit about why I'm so passionate about it and what we're doing to our planet, share that with students. So when I did return from Australia, I went to teacher's college at Nipissing and started off primary junior and then got my JI qualifications focusing on science after that. So if I wasn't here talking to you guys, one of my other favorite activities is scuba diving. It's absolutely amazing. It's so freeing. You get to explore a world that few people do get to explore, and it's definitely my favorite hobby. So as you can see, you can have a little bit of fun when you find old things people leave in the water. There's a green sea turtle on the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. That's where I started diving. I've been diving for about 10 years now. Recently, I was in Bimini and did some snorkeling and some diving with the sharks in Bimini. So here's some Caribbean reef sharks and the great hammerheads. So as you can see, they'll sneak up right behind you if you're not paying attention. We'll take our first quick video break. I want to take you guys for a second so you can see what it's like to dive with hammerhead sharks. This is just a little, roughly 30-second clip of diving with 10 to 12-foot puppy dogs. They really are amazing. Never once did I feel intimidated or in any danger. I think I spent about 6 hours with them in the water. We'll take a quick pause, and then when you're back, maybe start clicking those green check marks so I know when we have most of the group back and we can continue. So take a quick look and see what it's like to experience these guys. All right, I see the check marks slowly coming back. Looks like we're hitting about the 30-second mark as well. I see a few people saying scary, but it absolutely is not. It's absolutely incredible. You really get to experience a world that few people do. So on one hand, I want people to see it, but I don't want it to get too crowded. So, okay. So I think it looks like most people are back now. At the end of the video, am I pushing a shark away with a stick? So on this dive, you get a little piece of PVC tubing. And the PVC tubing is really just in case the sharks swim too close. You can see that one. If I hadn't used the pipe just to lift it up over top, it probably would have pushed right through me. And it's not that it was being violent. It's more that they just see you as another predator in the environment, and they want to show you that they're not intimidated. They'll swim right close to you, right through you. So just kind of a little up and over to make sure I didn't get run over. All right. So moving on. I'd say 4 summers ago now, I was kind of thinking about how I could do something new in my science classroom, something to get the students more excited, more interested in science. And I stumbled across an article on CNN about Fabien Cousteau. So Fabien Cousteau is Jacques Cousteau's grandson, and for those, I'm sure most of us know, Jacques Cousteau is a legendary underwater explorer, and his grandson was going to live in the world's only underwater laboratory for 31 days, called it Mission 31, and he was going to beat his grandfather's record by 1 day. And the thing that really caught my eye in the article was it said that he'd be Skyping with classrooms from the bottom of the ocean. And I decided right there and then, no matter what happened, my classroom was going to be one of those classes that connected to the bottom of the ocean. So I called this PR person, and she turned me on to something called Skype in the Classroom. So we're going to talk a little bit about Skype in the Classroom as the presentation continues. One of our very first connections as a class, so at the time I was teaching a grade 6 classroom, was with an orphanage in Uganda. So these were students aged 5 to 17. They had just gotten the technology into their part of the country, and so the infrastructure wasn't great. A few times during the Hangout, it did, or the Skype session, it did blink out, and they had to log back in. But it was absolutely amazing. You can see here you have my students on one side, these students thousands of miles away, and to watch them laughing, singing, and dancing, and just having a great time, it really opened my eyes to the power that bringing the world into your classroom could have. And right from that day, we were hooked, and we started looking for new things we could do in our classroom. So I started inviting guest speakers into my science class. You know, I figure we're doing space units, we're doing biodiversity and ecosystems. Who better to talk to my students than some of the world's leading experts? So I just saw a question pop up, how did I find contacts in Uganda? And actually, this was through Skype in the Classroom. And we're going to talk about it in a little minute, but Skype in the Classroom is basically a community of teachers all across the world. It's probably up in the high 90,000s or higher by now, and there's an amazing group of collections and collaborations you can find, but we'll jump into that shortly. So some of the people I invited into my classroom, just to show you what was out there, what I was able to find just by reaching out, putting my classroom out there and saying, hey, we'd love to connect, this is what we're up to, what do you think? So this is Jeremy Henson. He is one of the 2 remaining Canadian astronauts, and we hung out with him during our space unit from the training facility in Houston and had an amazing Q&A session. He had a spacesuit with him. He was showing them some rations or some of the freeze-dried food that they use on the station. We connected to Jean in Antarctica, and so she spends 4 months of the year living in an Adelie penguin colony. So she was sitting in the middle of the colony of penguins, answering the students' questions while the penguins were coming up to the camera, looking in. It was awesome. It was quite a lot of fun to watch the penguins doing their thing. Dave Cornway, he's an adventurer from the UK. He basically at 25 kind of quit his job, sold his house, and decided to live adventurous. So he has a goal to do, I think it's 21,000 mile journeys, all human-powered. So to give you an example of some things he's done so far, he skateboarded across Australia, he supboarded the Mississippi River, he swam the Missouri River, so all kinds of human-powered journeys, and I believe he's up at about 11 or 12 right now. Nizar Ibrahim, he is a National Geographic explorer. He's a paleontologist. He was an emerging explorer 2 years ago now, I believe, and he's been making some amazing finds in Morocco. Andrea Marshall is another Nat Geo explorer. She's one of the world's foremost manta ray scientists. She's the first person to get her PhD in mantas and has discovered 2 new species. So she's a big supporter of exploring by the seat of your pants. Always up for a hangout from Mozambique. Natalie Panic is Canadian. She is a space roboticist, so a great addition to our space unit. We were learning about global warming, so why not connect to somebody on a glacier in Iceland? So Pal was good enough to join us and talk to us about what's happening to Iceland's glaciers from a glacier. Roz Savage, the first woman to solo row across the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. And we're talking geology, so we had Hugh James connect with us from Mount Etna in Italy. And so as he's talking about volcanoes and how they form, Mount Etna was very cooperative in spewing ash out in the background, which was absolutely incredible. And lastly, Shaw Selby. So Shaw is another Nat Geo explorer. He's a satellite propulsionist, but in his spare time, he is working on technology that can be used to monitor illegal fishing, so hydrophones and drones to monitor and protect marine protected areas. So this was just an example of 10 connections, and that first year we set a goal. We were so excited. We set a goal to make 50 of these connections with scientists, explorers, and conservationists. We ended up doing 52. I would never do that many again. It was crazy, but we were so excited and loving it so much. Now I think we average somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 each year. And all of these connections I made just by reaching out to people I saw in documentaries, read about in magazines, or was connected to by other scientists. So these were all connections I was able to make just by looking around and seeing what was available. One of the early groups we connected with was called Sharks for Kids. And as a diver, I often talk about diving with sharks, and no matter what I said, my students wouldn't believe me that sharks are not what they're made to be on TV, that there's so many myths surrounding them. And so I thought, well, let's bring in an expert. So Jillian Morris is a marine biologist with Sharks for Kids. She's the founder, actually. And so she, on top of being a marine biologist, her and her husband film amazing things for Nat Geo, for the BBC, Discovery Channel, and such. So after an hour with her, they were totally flipped. After listening to her, hearing her story, seeing her in the water with the sharks, it totally turned their view. And I started to kind of see the power of these connections and what students could see. So they were motivated. No longer were they scared of sharks. Now they wanted to do something to protect them because they learned some facts. Some facts like sharks kill maybe 5 to 7 humans a year, whereas we're killing over 100 million, removing them from the ocean, mostly for the shark fin trade, for shark fin soup and cosmetics and things like that. So they wanted to do something. They wanted to have their voice heard. So we did some persuasive writing. We wrote to the Prime Minister to talk about banning shark fin products in Canada. But at the same time, we heard about a shark call that was going to take place in Western Australia. The Premier had decided, the best way to counter sharks at the beach is to start killing sharks within a kilometer of popular beaches. So we wrote open letters to the Premier expressing how terrible an idea we thought this was, about endangered species, about facts and such, and he wrote back. He basically told us, thanks for writing, but you guys don't really know what you're talking about. So that didn't make my students too happy, so we wrote back again with even more science and even more research, and in the process, we made international headlines. So this here is an article from the Guelph Mercury that made the front page. There's a couple little articles here from Perth, from in Western Australia. So there's one, and then there's another one. And then we took part in some conservation activities with some groups in Western Australia, including the No Shark Call, as well as Sea Shepherd. We even made a video for one of the groups. We did a radio interview for a radio station in Perth. So it was an absolute blast. It was an incredible experience. Never has the persuasive writing been so detailed and passionate and in-depth, because they were excited about the issue. And they really learned that their voice can have an impact, that they can be heard, that they can make a difference, even if it's on the other side of the world. So this first year, my eyes were just being opened over and over and over again. And so were my students to what it meant to be a global citizen and to issues going on around the world. This led to inviting experts to come visit our school, because why not? Why not share the learning with the whole school? So this is William Winram. He's a world record holding free diver. So he can hold his breath for 9 minutes. It's incredible. And he put his skill to good use. He formed an organization called the Waterman Project. And he free dives and tags great white sharks and hammerhead sharks with satellite trackers. So their movements can be tracked, and scientists can better understand how to protect their breeding grounds, where they feed, and the like. So he came in and visited our school. It was a great day. Welcome to the Shark Tank. This grew into a guest speaker tour for my whole school board called Question, Explore, Conserve. So, why not reach the whole school board? So the very first one was with Sharks for Kids. We invited 3 marine biologists from Florida and the Bahamas to tour our school board, and it was a blast. So we did it again the next year. Invited 2 speakers, Emily Penn, ocean advocate and conservationist adventurer from the UK, talked to our high school students, and Travis Steffens, a primatologist from Toronto who studies lemurs in Madagascar, visited our elementary schools. And last year we had an incredible hangout with James Ketchell. James is an adventurer from the UK. Years ago, he was in a terrible motorbiking accident. So he used to race motorbikes, busted up his legs, his arm. The doctor basically said, look, mate, you're not going to live the active lifestyle you used to. So he decided, you know what, forget that. He responded by rowing solo across the Atlantic Ocean, climbing Mount Everest, and then cycling 18,000 miles around the world. So he called it his ultimate triathlon. And absolute inspiration to hang out with the students and talk about perseverance and overcoming difficulties. And then I couldn't resist getting involved. I started hosting hangouts with classrooms in Ireland, in India, in Argentina, sharing my passion for oceans, scuba diving, things like that. So just made for some odd hours, getting up early in the morning to do these presentations, but it was just so much fun. You can see there's one up in the corner from when I was in Bimini. We went to the Shark Lab in Bimini and did a live hangout of a workup of a juvenile lemon shark. So it was really neat to be able to do that. And as luck and fate would have it, we were scheduled, or Mission 31 was scheduled to take place in November of that first year. So it would have been one of our early connections. But there was a government shutdown and it was delayed. So it didn't end up actually going until June of that school year. And it ended up being our 50th connection. So our 50th connection was with the man who inspired it all, Jacques Cousteau, from the bottom of the ocean. So it was incredible to see the fish and things swimming through that porthole in the background and connect with the one who started our adventure in the first place. And we ended up actually doing 2 more after that. We had 52 connections by the end of the year. But again, it was way, way too much. We were just so excited with what we were able to do and where we were able to go. We just couldn't resist. Okay, before we move on, I did see another question in the chat sidebar. So you've connected with many Nat Geo experts. How did you make those connections? Was it through Twitter or some kind of service? So all the connections that I made early on were through just reaching out via email, sometimes if I found a Facebook account. Now, however, there is a service that you can use, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm just noticing April S is saying chipmunk voice. Okay, Susan's answering the question. Perfect. Okay, Digital Human Library, we'll talk about that in a moment too. That's another group that I do work with, I've connected with recently. So, please feel free to keep the questions coming, but we're going to jump to a new section now. I kind of shared a little bit of my story, and we're going to start talking about some of the things that I use to connect my students with people around the world. What library? Oh, okay, there's a site called the Digital Human Library. And it's basically a collection of all kinds of links and resources that you can use to connect with experts and take your class on some virtual field trips. So another part of it, an offshoot that's starting up, is a Kids Guide to Canada. So they're collecting stories and the like from kids in classrooms all across Canada. So those are two really cool resources, the Digital Human Library and Kids Guide to Canada, which is just kicked off, and it's a really cool website and a great opportunity for your classrooms. All right, so we'll jump ahead here. So I call it your passport and your luggage. So really, there's only a few things you need to get started. The first is a Skype Classroom account, which you can get quite simply just searching Skype Classroom or Microsoft Skype Classroom on Google. A Google Plus account. Now, this isn't really as necessary anymore. Recently, YouTube has migrated, or the Google Plus has migrated to YouTube Live, and we're going to talk about that in a little moment. So more like a Google account as opposed to a Google Plus account now. And then we're going to talk about exploring by the seat of your pants, which I highlighted with a few extra stars because it's near and dear to my heart, and we'll talk about that soon. Really, a smart board or a laptop with a built-in webcam or an iPad is all you need as your luggage, as your equipment. So a few areas we're going to tackle, Skype in the classroom and some things you can do with it. And then we're going to talk about some Google apps and some things you can do with those. So as we move on, can I just get by check marks and X's, how many are familiar with or have used Skype in the classroom before? So if you've used it, let's get some checks. If you haven't, let's get those X's coming up. Okay, lots of X's. A few more checks. All right. Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. So there's a lot of things you can do with Skype in the classroom. A few examples: collaborating with other teachers in classrooms around the world, finding guest speakers and virtual field trips. And one of our favorite activities is mystery Skype. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But why don't we clear those questions and quickly, if you guys want to pop up, how many have ever taken part in a mystery Skype with their classroom before? So let's get those checks for if you've done a mystery Skype before, and the X's if you haven't. Okay, lots of X's. Oh, we've got one. Sarah says she's done a mystery. And then a couple of green checks coming up. All right. Well, let's get into it because this is something you definitely want to try with your classroom, and you want to grow with them doing this activity all year long. It's a ton of fun. So we've got another link here. If you watch about, I'd say the first 50 seconds of this one, you'll kind of get the gist of it. We did a mystery Skype with a classroom in Connecticut, a televised one for NBC, which was a lot of fun. And it just gives you kind of a little picture of what a mystery Skype's like. So about the first 50 seconds, and then come back and hit the check mark when you're back, just so I know when we have most of the group back. So it should be about 50 seconds, and then you can stop the video. It goes on a little bit longer, but we don't need to go that far. So I have someone, Evelyn, I think you should just be able to click that link. The link that Susan posted should take you to open a YouTube page for you on your computer. It looks like Susan's making a good point as well. It's the link in the chat sidebar, not the link on the screen on my presentation. And as you start coming back, just tick the green box for me, or the green check mark. I can see we have a few coming back. All right, so I see a few more questions. What are the youngest grades it's suitable for? So, really, I don't think there is too young of a group. We're going to talk about 4 ways to play the game in a moment, but you just kind of tailor the game to your group, or it doesn't really have to be a game following the rules. You could really just connect to talk a little bit about where you live, a little bit about maybe some of your customs or things you like to do, activities and things like that. So there really isn't an age level. You just kind of adjust a little bit depending on your age level. And I can see Sarah saying that her kindergartens love it. Do you know the teacher beforehand? Yes, you do, absolutely. So the teacher knows. You set this up through Skype in the classroom, through connecting with the teacher. So you definitely know the teacher beforehand. You can choose to connect to a similar age level or a little bit different. That's not too big of a deal. And we'll talk about a few pointers for setting up in a mystery Skype. So it looks like most of us are back. So let's continue in a little bit deeper. So how do you set up a mystery Skype? So when you visit Skype in the classroom, there's an option to set up an account. So basically a little bit of information about who you are in your classroom and what interests you, what you're looking for, things like that. So you can find a classroom, send a message or tweet to teachers, tell them you'd like to connect. The community is full of teachers who are looking for mystery Skypes on a regular basis. The next thing you do is arrange a time. So always being aware of time zones, and because that's important. You don't want to show up for a Hangout 2 hours early or after the other class has already tried and left. And from there, you're going to want to do a test call. And there's 2 reasons for the test call. One, just to make sure your technology looks good and the other teacher's technology looks good. But the second reason is you always want to be careful. You always want to make sure that when you do connect, it is going to be a classroom on the other side and not something unexpected. So what I would do after connecting with the teacher on Skype in the classroom is say, hey, let's do a connection beforehand. And so we'd meet for about a minute or two just to make sure our tech looked good. And then you can see that, yeah, we're both teachers in the classroom. All right, we'll see you soon. And yeah, we go from there. And then as you're doing the mystery Skype, they encourage you to share your story, tweet it out with pictures and such as well. So there's 4 ways to play. The first one is 20 questions, and that's great for young groups or for beginners. So you might prepare your questions beforehand, and everything's fair game. Students can ask whatever they want. What language do you speak? What kind of foods do you eat? Are you near mountains? Things like that, where any kind of answer can come back. Really, I guess the only question would be, tell us where you are, or can you tell us where you are? That's a question that you probably would avoid. But it's a great way to start off, get students comfortable asking questions, meeting other students. And then as they get stronger, as they get a little bit more into it, you can have the yes or no style. And so this is for more experienced classrooms, and you limit just to yes or no questions. So things like, are you in the Northern Hemisphere? Are you landlocked? Do you border the Hudson Bay? Does a mountain range run through your state? So just yes or no questions. It makes it a little trickier. And usually you play to about 20 questions. And if you haven't discovered by then you might start giving hints or reveal your location. The third way to play, and this is the most fun, and it takes a little bit of time, and as a teacher it's really hard to walk away and let the students take over sometimes, but when they do, it's incredible. So basically you want them to get to a point where they're running the sessions on their own, and you're only there to step in if there's a technology problem or something. So you give the class jobs, things like greeters, questioners, mappers, people who run back and forth between the groups. You can have people taking pictures and live blogging or tweeting. You can have closers, all kinds of little jobs for the students to keep the mystery Skype going and have them run it completely on their own. So really awesome to see it by themselves. We'll jump to the fourth version. This is China, Japan, Australia, places around the world that are in bed while you're at school. Well, you can tackle this with video. So there's a video messaging service on Skype. We would submit 3 questions, go through our school day, come in the next day, load up, find a message waiting for us with the 3 answers and 3 questions from the other class. Sometimes this could stretch on for 5 or 6 days, but it was an absolute ton of fun. It was a great bell activity. The students loved coming in the morning to see what was waiting for them and what they could learn about and eventually find out where the classroom is. So another person is asking parental permission. Well, when you're using something like Skype, generally it's always a good idea to get permission. The nice thing about the Skype is it's not recorded, so you don't have to worry about it lingering online afterwards. But at the beginning of the year, I always send out a blanket form, even though there's one from our school board, just a media release to say, hey, we're going to be doing Hangouts, we're going to be doing Skypes, we might be in the newspaper, is this okay? And in the 4 years I've been doing this, I've never had a parent say no. However, sometimes they do. I've heard of other teachers, and it's a very easy solution is the camera only has a certain field of view, so the students just have to sit slightly to the side so they're out of the frame of view of the camera, but they can still see the Hangout, they can still see the mystery Skype, and they can still even come up and ask questions just standing to the side. So it's a very easy way to get around if you have 2 or 3 students who can't be on camera. And I can see someone else suggesting connect with someone else on your board, and that's another great way to get started as well. All right. So those are the 4 ways to play mystery Skype. A few tips here. We talked about the test call, a quick test call with teachers. Another one of the tips is to, as we just talked about, is getting the permissions at the beginning of the year. Most boards do send something out, but I always send something out anyways, just to cover my own classroom, because I think we do a little bit more than some classrooms do. Yeah, there's all kinds of things people do. Some try to get all 7 continents. Some try to do like around the world in 80 Skypes, or some try to get all the provinces and territories or all the states. There's all kinds of things classrooms do. Ah, there's a teacher I recognize. Mrs. Diesel's joining in tonight. So she had 2 parents say no, and sometimes you just have to talk with them. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Copy of my suggestions on the slides. What I can do is I can share some things with Susan. I can even share a copy of the form that I use if people would like to use it. And I can also share a copy of my PowerPoint. And I believe it's recorded as well, so we can check that out later as well. All right, so if there's any questions about Mystery Skype, feel free to go ahead, but we're going to jump on to another topic. But it's a ton of fun, and just to give you an example, by the end of the year, I really wanted to get my students, so I found a spot to connect with a classroom on an island called Alderney. It's in the Channel. It's a Channel Island in the English Channel. It's only about 3 miles by 1.5 miles, and they totally blew my mind. They had it under 15 questions. It was pretty impressive. You really get to see their questioning skills grow, their thinking and their reasoning. It's really, really cool. So it's fun to challenge them and have them come back and totally exceed my expectations. So other things I use Skype in the classroom for, supplements for units, whether it's connecting with lessons made by teachers or connecting to experts from around the world. Reading buddies. I never actually did this one, but this is one I would love to do sometime. Maybe when I'm teaching language again, it would be to connect, have your reading buddies be from another country or state or province. And if you have one-to-one technology, they could connect once a week or once every 2 weeks, read to each other, share a little bit about where they live. I think this would be a ton of fun to have a reading buddy somewhere else. Pen pals, sharing presentations. So that year, actually for 2 years after that, my classroom never presented to each other. We present to other classrooms. So the students were the teachers. I put a lesson out on Skype in the classroom and said, hey, we just finished studying this. We have a student presentations. Would any classrooms like to be with us? And so we did that, and that was a lot of fun for the students to have a shot at being the teacher. We talked about Mystery Skype, classroom collaboration. So an example of that is with a classroom in Brazil. After our Mystery Skype, we decided we wanted to connect more. So we talked about things in our school, things we could do to be more environmentally conscious. We brainstormed some ideas, and then we implemented some of them, and we connected a little bit later to talk about what went well, what didn't, what we could do in the future. So it was a really cool collaboration. There's lots of authors on Skype in the classroom, so you can do things from reading with your students to talking about writing and such. And writing ideas. I mentioned earlier that the persuasive writing on why there shouldn't be a shark collar, why shark fin products should be banned was some of the best writing I've ever had students turn into me because they were excited, passionate, and they learned a lot beforehand. To give you an example of supplementing a unit, so that year I was teaching grade 6, and space is one of the units. So on top of what we did in the classroom, we connected to the Canada, France, Hawaii telescope on the top of an extinct volcano in Hawaii for a virtual tour. We had our Q&A with Canadian astronaut Jeremy Henson. We talked to someone at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory who actually sends commands to the Mars rover, which is pretty cool. And aliens. Kids always want to know about aliens, so they asked about life on other planets and how they search. So I found an astrobiologist named Brendan, and he talked all about the science behind how they actually search for life in other places in our universe, in our galaxy and universe. So incredible way to just take your science or geography lesson or unit to a different level by having these connections. Okay, so part of what got me started with Skype in the classroom, making my own connections is what I started doing after that because I wanted some other areas that weren't there. And after doing this for 2 years, making these connections in my classroom, bringing in experts and such, I realized I had an amazing set of connections all over the world, up into the hundreds, and only 25 students a year were taking part in these because they were via Skype. And it just seemed kind of crazy. So that summer of 2015, I decided I was going to launch a non-for-profit and call it Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. And you know, at the time, I had no idea what I was doing, and if I'm completely honest, I still kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and I'm still learning a lot as I run this organization. So we're going to do a little web tour of Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants in a few minutes, but it's exploringbytheseat.com, but we'll do a web tour shortly through the Blackboard program. So yeah, I launched it with the goal of bringing science, adventure, exploration, and conservation into classrooms across North America and further and beyond, and doing this through virtual Hangouts with scientists and experts, as well as through virtual field trips, and just started using my connections that I already had and making some more. The platform that I use is Google Hangouts, and a specific thing called a Hangout on Air. So let's just get a show of those checks and X's if you've ever done a Google Hangout before. If you've used Google Hangouts, give me the check. If you haven't, give me the X. All right, it's neck and neck. Okay, I see a few people saying they are the best. Excellent. So the reason I chose Google Hangouts as my platform is it has way more reach than Skype. And it has way more reach for 3 reasons. There's something called a Hangout on Air that you can use to basically broadcast live via YouTube. So for each Hangout that I run, I can have up to 8 classrooms join in live on camera, and they can be from all different locations. And so they come in on camera, the students can interact with the speaker and ask questions when it's the Q&A period. And I don't usually do 8. It has to be a really good Hangout to do 8. I usually try to cap it at 5 or 6 just to make sure that there's lots of Q&A time for classrooms. The second reason it's great to use is while it's live, it streams live via YouTube. So anybody can watch live from the YouTube page. Any individual, any classroom can watch live. And you can still submit questions because there's a chat sidebar on YouTube. And then everything is recorded. And goes to our Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants YouTube page. So if you do want to find the page and join on, it's just searching Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. We'll bring it up on YouTube. And we've got well over 150 videos up right now. And yeah, it can be watched anytime. And it keeps growing. So we've probably done over 300 Hangouts now with experts from all over the world. And you know, our community's grown, I'd say, over 3,000 classrooms now across North America who take part, whether they're joining on camera from time to time, whether they're watching live on YouTube, or if they're watching the Hangouts afterwards. So Google Hangout on Air. A few of the groups we work with, just some amazing connections from around the world. Nat Geo, Canadian Geographic, SANCOB's, the Penguin Rehabilitation Center in South Africa, Ripley's Aquarium in Toronto, groups like Sharks for Kids, the Fisheye Project. These guys are really cool. They are working and using technology to live broadcast dives that they go on. And then the Medina Aquarius program is the only underwater laboratory in the world. So last summer we connected with them from the bottom of the ocean. Well, they had an astronaut from the ESA and NASA on board because that's where they go to train. They call it the Inner Space Station because it's as close as you can get to a space station on Earth. So lots of really cool groups. And our partners or individuals who take part, some maybe do it once or twice throughout the year, some do it more regularly, and some even monthly. So things like Ripley's Aquarium and the Sea Turtle Hospital in the Florida Keys, they take part a few times a month. And just a few pictures of classrooms in action. So, you know, we'd love to have the pictures sent in and shared via Twitter or sent directly to us. So you can see here, here's a classroom in New Jersey, and a lot of times the kids will have the one-to-one technology out so they can dig deeper, they can research, find out a little bit more, gather their questions while the Hangout's on. And you can see some of them like to just watch the Hangout on their own personal view, even though they have it at the front of the classroom. This is a screenshot from a class in Weatherford, Texas, and we were connecting with a Nat Geo photographer, Amy Vitale. And I think this was on the front page of their newspaper, which was kind of cool. Sea Turtle Hospital is always a hit. Students get to see the sea turtles, several species of them. They get to learn about why they're in danger, what they do at the hospital, how they rehabilitate them. It's a really cool hangout. And students get to see a lot of sea turtles, which is always a plus. Lots of engagement in the Hangouts. It's a lot of fun taking part for classrooms. And then, you know, we get to meet a lot of cool people. So this is George Karunis. George is an adventurer and explorer. You may recognize him from a series on Weather Network and a few other stations called Angry Planet. He's the host. And George has been an amazing supporter since day one. He's actually on our board of directors now. Always game for joining in for a hangout with students. And I started doing something last year. I started asking our explorers and scientists to shoot me little promos while they're in the field. To shoot me, the name again is George Karunis. To get people to send me little images or little clips from the field where they say, you know, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm here in Africa with lions, exploring by the seat of my pants, just something like that. And so George, I asked him to do one for me while he was going to a volcano in the Philippines. And George really kind of took it to the next level. He threw down the gauntlet, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever going to be able to beat this. We have some really cool promos that have been sent in, but you'll see if you follow this link here, you'll see why he kind of took things to the next level. So Susan posted a link to George's website, The Storm Chaser, but it's the YouTube link that I want you to go to. There it is. Yep, Ultimate Promo. That's the third link down. It's only about 15 seconds, but you'll see why I don't think anyone's going to be able to top George's anytime soon. Although space would be pretty cool. If we could get one from the space station, I think that would be right up there with this one. All right, so I can see the tick starting to come back. It's a short clip, so it shouldn't take too long. Epic is a good word. That definitely is a good word to sum it up. So, as most of you have discovered, George, I was expecting something from a tent or maybe something with a volcano in the background. He was right down there in the crater at the lava lake in his heat suit. So pretty incredible. Yeah, and the goal with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants is to bring more one-of-a-kind experiences into classrooms. And in a moment, we're going to talk about how we're doing that with technology, a new project we started. So we host, I would say, between, depending on the month, 10 to 20 Google Hangouts. 10 to 20 Google Hangouts a month with explorers, adventurers, and such. But we also like to do full-day events. This is something we started last year. And these full-day events are incredible. We usually base them around a day like World Oceans Day, Biodiversity Day. We celebrate women in STEM, in science and exploration. So the first one we did was 12 hours long. It was 26 speakers back-to-back, 30-minute hangouts on 5 different continents. And we reached well over 10,000 students live on camera, as well as students watching live or videos afterwards. It was just an incredible day. It was crazy to organize, but it was an absolute blast. You can see a few here. Jacques Cousteau, Ross Savage, Sven Lindblad, the founder of Lindblad Expeditions. We went to the Turtle Hospital. We had the late Rob Stewart. It was a powerful day. It was I didn't know how heavy it was going to be organization-wise, but it all worked out. In February, on International Day of Women in Science, we celebrated women in science and exploration. So we had about 26 Google Hangouts over the course of 8 hours. And again, it was another blast, from connecting with doctors to cave explorers to biologists to astronomers and physicists. It was just another incredible day. Just recently, we had a Shark Week with one of our favorite groups, Sharks for Kids. Amazing resources, sharksforkids.com. You can find all kinds of video and curriculum and interviews and posters for your classroom. It really is a really cool site. Celebrating biodiversity, so that event comes up on May 23rd, so it's coming up. Starting on May the 4th, classrooms will be able to sign up for camera spots, and we'll have most of the timing go up on the website, but on exploringbytheseat.com, you can get a little sneak preview, and we'll visit that shortly. And of course, on June 8th, we'll have Exploring Oceans by the Seat of Your Pants Part 2, because it's our oceans, and they're incredible. The learning project. So what I do is 100% free. I'm a classroom teacher. I know that money's tight in classrooms. Some websites that exist do charge money, from $50 to $100, even for some speakers $1,000, and that's just not realistic, and it's just not creating a level playing field in some situations. So this will always be 100% free for classrooms, but we do want to make money through grants and through sponsorships, but then we want to take that money and flip it into really cool science, exploration, and conservation projects around the world. So we entered something called the Canadian Scholarship Trust Inspired Minds Learning Project. Cross Canada contest. looking for innovative education projects. There was a 2-week voting period, and we made the top 10. And then the top 10 projects went to the celebrity judges, and we were the unanimous choice. We were given $100,000 to grow the organization. Mind-blowing. So we got that last June. And to give you some examples of what we've been doing with it, we have a new website being built. So the website that I have right now is one I built myself, but this new one that's being designed will be more automated, a little more user-friendly, better graphics. It's going to be a big improvement over what we have already, which is cool. But you can always do things with automation and such. We've donated about $15,000 to different science, exploration, and expedition conservation projects around the world. And we have invested in some really cool technology. So one of my goals is to figure out a way to make it so that there's nowhere on Earth that I can't take classrooms through exploring by the seat of your pants. And I found the technology to do it. So they're called BGAN units. BGAN units are textbook sized. They only weigh a few pounds. And basically you plug it into a laptop computer, line it up with the satellite, and you can video broadcast from pretty much anywhere on the planet. So there was a little confusion when I first contacted the company to order some. Usually they're used by journalists in the field or by mineral rights surveyors who are out in the middle of nowhere looking for oil and such. But I thought these could have a really cool classroom application. And so far, so good. Our first one, a National Geographic expedition, took one of the units to the Bahamas, to Abaco. And we connected with Kenny Broad and Jill Heinrich, who's one of Canada's top female explorers, one of the top cave divers on the planet. And they were surveying the blue holes, which are basically underwater caves full of water. And they were collecting data and information, but they were also collecting the information so they could create maps and virtual reality, augmented reality, so that classrooms can experience what it's like to be diving in these blue holes. So we did 2 Hangouts from the Bahamas, and it was incredible, absolutely incredible. The paleontologists, ecologists, the divers, everybody was jumping in. There were students from the Bahamas. It was a blast. If you want to jump, there's this expedition file. You can jump to this on YouTube, and you can see what it was like in the field doing this hangout. They put together this little roughly 2-minute video for me, and it's really cool. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to
Coming,
check that
just
out.
a sec.
That's okay.
Sorry, I was working on the web page.
That's okay, no big deal. So take a look. It's about 2 minutes long. Yeah, it was a really neat experience to have these Hangouts coming off the ground. So Jill, who's the scientist, one of the scientists in the video, I mentioned she's a Canadian explorer, one of the world's leading cave divers. She's another member of our board of directors. Jill's absolutely incredible. All right, I can see the check marks starting to come back in, so just give another couple seconds, and then we'll continue onwards. So we do have more BGAN Hangouts coming up this month. I have 2 units now. One is steaming across the Pacific Ocean to Clipperton Atoll. It's the most isolated coral atoll on the planet, and we're going to be the first ever to live broadcast from there. So there's a Canadian team of divers who are doing some work surveying, tagging sharks, and working to get an even larger marine protected area set up. And so we're going to connect with them on Thursday, May the 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do, technology, surf, and weather permitting. We're going to do the first live broadcast from this atoll. And the other one is on its way to Belize, to a Mayan archaeological dig site. So we're going to do a series of hangouts, probably 4 or 5 in total, where we're going to meet some of the archaeologists and the students, see some of the site where they're excavating this ancient city. And the first one of those will be May 17th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then there'll be each Wednesday after that. So those are 2 coming up. And then another idea I'm toying with is on-call hangouts. You never know when something's going to happen in the field, whether it's a shark being tagged, or a lion kill, or bears at a river. So one idea that we're going to try maybe next year is to set up a hangout when we know someone will be in the field and have the teachers on call. So the scientists get something cool happening, they send me a message, I call the teachers, and they jump on. So yeah, on-call hangouts. So someone's just asking, what's the difference between a BGAN hangout or a Google hangout? So a Google hangout is with just internet, regular technology, but the BGAN unit allows us to connect anywhere on the planet where there is no internet or cell phone service. So we're connecting directly through satellite to video broadcasts from the most remote places on Earth. So that's the difference between the regular versus a BGAN. Where we connect from. Another amazing group we're connected with is Canada C3. So for those who don't know, it's a signature Canada 150 project, and they're going to be sailing on an expedition vessel for 150 days from Toronto all the way through the Northwest Passage, making all kinds of stops along the way to Victoria. And they're going to do that over the 150 days, and we're going to host a series of hangouts with them along the way. So we had our first one last week where we connected to their head of education, their education lead, and she introduced the project. We have a live one on May 8th where we're going to do a virtual tour of the expedition vessel. They leave early June, and we'll have our first one from the ship on World Oceans Day, June 8th. So we'll be doing some over the summer, hopefully connecting with museums and science centers and such, and then we'll do more during the next school year as well, September, October. So we're going to do lots of hangouts with Canada 150, or Canada C3, a signature Canada 150 project. We're not going to go to this video, but if you want to post the link, Susan, I'm just looking at the time, we're getting tight. So please copy this link and check it out when you can. As well, there is a Facebook group you can join for the Canada C3 and keep up to date with what's going on, including our hangouts and other really neat things. And the Canada C3 website has an amazing kind of educator library that they're building right now of neat things classrooms can do related to the expedition and such. So we won't watch the video right now just because we are tight for time. This is another video as well, but maybe we should just copy the link. It's about a 2.5-minute video, and it's a teacher in Thunder Bay, Peter Cameron. he jumped on Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants early, and his class had a blast using it. They put together a video of some of their adventures, so please do check that out afterwards to see how they used their adventure logs, some of the questions it brought out of his class, and some of the really cool people they connected with through Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So before I continue, I want to do a web share now, so let's see how this works. I want to take you to exploringbytheseatofyourpants.com for a moment, or exploringbytheseat.com, and show you how easy it is to watch or sign up to take a camera spot. So let's see how this works.
I thought you were going to use application sharing instead of web tour.
Oh,
yeah, let's do that.
There we go. Okay, perfect. So let me open Exploring by the Seat. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so you should see my screen now. Susan, just let me know if it didn't come up. So it's exploringbytheseat.com. When you drop in, we have a landing page where you can see some headlines. You can see some of the Hangouts that are coming up. I'll try not to scroll too fast because I know it refreshes every time I scroll. You can sign up for our newsletter here, so please do. We send out usually about 2 to 3 a month with updates and all kinds of information about cool projects and such your classroom can get involved in. So please do take a moment and sign up for the newsletter. As well, you do need to sign up as a member of the website, but it's just a simple make a password with your email address. And really that's just so I know who's joining. And the only time you have to use it on the website is to get to the actual list of Hangouts. And again, it's just so I know how many teachers are using the website. So let's see just how easy it is to join in. Let's say that you want just to watch. You're not ready for a camera spot. So you head to your May Hangouts, click on the May Hangouts. It'll ask you to log in if you haven't been on the website recently. And we'll pick this very first Hangout here. So on May 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern, we are going to Clipperton Atoll with our BGAN unit. There's a link down here, youtube.com. If you click that, it'll take you right to the event page. You'll see there's a countdown timer, and when that timer ends and we start the Hangout, it'll start to play live in your classroom. To the right, there'll be a YouTube chat sidebar. It's that easy. We have the link right here, so really, come to the website, 1 or 2 clicks, and you can be watching an event live. As well, they're on YouTube to be watched at any time. If you would like a camera spot, it's only slightly more complicated. You can see here what's available. The newsletter just went out. And if you scroll to the bottom, there's Book a Camera Spot. And a few fields, your name, address, where your school is, grade level, number of students, email, a few things like that. Submit it. If you get a camera spot, I'll send you a message. Yes, if you didn't, I'll send you a message to say that the Hangouts are full. And you're signed up. From there, you might want to do a test call with someone in your school, just do a practice Hangout, or you can connect with me. And I don't mind doing test calls with teachers. And on the day of the Hangout, roughly 15 minutes before, I will send you a link to your inbox, and you just have to follow the link into the Hangout. So it's that easy. If you want a camera spot, book it. With the form, I'll send you a message, yes or no, with some more details if it's yes, or details on how to watch live if it's no. And the day of the Hangout, I will send you a link right to your inbox 15 minutes in advance. Follow it in, and you are on camera with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So I tried to make it as easy as humanly possible. So a few other things to note along the top. You can see the full day events, past, and the one coming up, the biodiversity. You can see some of the BGAN Hangouts where we're going out into the field. And we like to follow expeditions. So connect with teams who are going out in the field before, during, and after their adventures. And you can see a list of some of the ones that we're following and we're connecting with periodically at this moment in time. So that's exploringbytheseat.com. Please take some time to explore it, become a site member, and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, let's come back. So Susan, if you can just check for me, or maybe stop it for me, because, oh, there we go, good. The middle of my screen was taken away for some reason, but we're back in business. Okay. So someone's asking about activities before, during, and after to keep students engaged. So usually we'll list websites, or teachers will go on their own to do a little bit of research and find out a little bit about who they're connecting with. During, we try to keep the lessons relatively quick, so between 15, 20 minutes where the speaker shares who they are, where they've been, exciting expeditions or research that they're doing. And then from there, we go to a Q&A with the classrooms. After that, teachers take it wherever they want. Some teachers might leave it with the Hangout. Others have explorers or adventure logs where the teachers do things like have them do summaries, have them jot down their questions. They have things like dig deeper sections where there's anything they want to learn more about after the Hangout. They can jump on their computers and research. Some teachers work it into their math, others work it into their geography. So really, the classroom teacher can take it anywhere they want. I'd love to be able to build curriculum around everything, but I'm a full-time teacher as well. So this is definitely a passion project, a labor of love, and it's like having a second full-time job for sure. So we're going to move on from exploring by the seat of your pants. I just want to share with you, sometimes when I'm bored or feeling a little bit stressed out or before a big presentation, I'll build some memes around exploring by the seat of your pants. Yeah, pants is just such an easy thing to build memes around. So I'll preview a few of them with you guys. I like to do this kind of in the middle of the presentation. So we've got little Indiana Jones. Little Christopher Walken. Little Dosakis. So I've had a big week this week. I was at Connect in Niagara Falls, and then I was in Toronto for OECTA's new technology conference. So the night before the first presentation, I probably should have been polishing my presentation, but I made a few new ones. So we'll let you guys check out some of these ones. So we've got The Hobbit. We've got Matt Damon. He's a big fan of the website. Kept him busy while on Mars. We got Forrest Gump. I wanted a Jerry Maguire one, but I couldn't pick, so I did both. And then, you know, we have a huge following in the U.S. Actually, I'd say almost more classrooms in the U.S. actually using the site than Canada right now. But you know, it's caught the attention of someone down there, and he recently wrote an executive order, so you can see it's making a little bit of an impact south of the border. All right, so we're going to jump to what I call the National Geographic portion of this Hangout. Oops, jumped too far. So last year, and give me the checks and give me the Exes if you've ever heard of the National Geographic Grosvenor Teacher Fellowship. This is such an incredible program. Every December, they open it up to educators from across North America, so Canada, the United States, and it doesn't necessarily have to be teachers. Educators at aquariums and zoos and such, and museums can apply as well. So this started 10 years ago with a gift from Sven Lindblad, the founder of Lindblad Expeditions. He gave Gil Grosvenor of National Geographic 2 spots on the 75th birthday that he could give to teachers on his vessels. And it grew in 10 years to 35 teachers a year. So it grew very quickly. and they're looking for teachers who are opening their classroom up to the world through geoliteracy, through science, geography, and such. And the application's open in December. There's about 4 short, kind of 4 to 500 word answer questions. There's a little 2-minute video, and you submit. And absolutely thrilled last year to be selected as one of the 35 Grosvenor Fellows. You can see the group of 35 who are down in Washington. So you spend 4 days in Washington. You meet the teachers. There's workshops and things like that. Really exciting. 4 Canadians representing that year, the most they've ever had. So they were just announced this year's group, and there's 3 Canadians. So hopefully we can get more Canadians taking part. This is the founding table of National Geographic. This is, in 1888, the founders sat around this table and signed National Geographic into existence. And it's so cool to be somewhere like that with so much history. You know, I grew up reading National Geographic, and I think it inspired me to do a lot of what I do in the classroom. And so they send teachers to Antarctica and the Arctic and the British Isles and places like that around the world. And I was selected for the Galapagos. And wow, as a science teacher, as someone who studied biology in university, there's nowhere in the world I wanted to go more. So I spent 10 days in the Galapagos. This is the National Geographic Endeavour. It's a 90-person expedition vessel, and it's actually just been retired. The Endeavour 2 has taken over a brand new expedition ship. A few pictures, I won't go through them, but here's a few of the animals, the amazing animals of the Galapagos, and it's just like you've heard. You can get, everything is so, not tame, but just not really caring about humans. They evolved in isolation from humans and don't view us as predators. Just incredible. One of my favorite things was the snorkeling. You'd end every snorkel with sea lions tugging on your flippers, blowing bubbles in your face, doing somersaults because they want you to play. It was just incredible. A few more scenery shots. What an experience. So it's the ultimate professional development. After you get back from your trip, you build lesson plans to share with teachers, you do presentations in your community, and share your adventures and your learning, and promote geography and geoliteracy. Just an incredible experience. So next December, it'll open, the applications will open for another month. So please do give it a go. This 360 video is only a couple seconds, so maybe we'll jump and do that one really quickly. It's a marine iguana walking past. Now, I really wanted this shot, and if you're using Firefox or Chrome, you'll be able to manipulate and turn, but the camera fell over. I thought the shot was ruined, and it turned out even better than I could have hoped. So sometimes when things go wrong, you actually get something kind of cool out of it. So this is almost like Godzilla. And if you don't have a 360 camera, I highly recommend this, the Ricoh Theta S. It's super easy, and the video and the pictures that I brought back from the Galapagos are things I will treasure for a long, long, long time. All right, I see some of the checks coming back. So it was pretty cool the way it worked out. I started something with National Geographic called Explore Classroom. Oh, the name of the camera. I'll type it in really quick. Ricoh Theta S. I started something with National Geographic called Explore Classroom. So each month we host between 1 to 3 of their explorers, and for hour-long Google Hangouts. So we get right into their work, lots of Q&A time, really get to meet someone from National Geographic. So a few recent ones, Mike Levecki, an amazing explorer, working towards 100 expeditions. I think he's up in the 60s now. Paul Salopek is walking our ancestral migration route starting in Ethiopia, and on foot over 7 to 10 years is going to walk all the way to the tip of South America. So absolutely incredible. Asha DeVoe is a marine biologist studying blue whales in Sri Lanka. And then recently we hosted Bob Poole, an amazing wildlife cinematographer. You got to check this hangout out on National Geographic Education's YouTube page. He shared some really incredible stories from being in the field with students. You can also now become a National Geographic educator. The new certification program is out. You can see their mission there for what they're doing in education. And it's a 3-part process. So why do you want to do this? Well, you get professional recognition, you connect with like-minded educators, the community is growing really fast of National Geographic educators. And then there's perks. There's things like discounts, things like getting hangout spots and such to connect on these really cool opportunities. There's 3 parts to it. There's a workshop that you can do online. There are activities, so you plan a couple lessons for your class. And then at the end, you do a little video based on those lessons. And it's called the Capstone Project. So the video is about 2 minutes or so. And from there, you can become a Nat Geo educator. So it's a really cool certification program and a really fast-growing community. And National Geographic's resources are incredible. So head over to the National Geographic Education website after the hangout, and you'll be busy for a little while. I guarantee it. We're not going to visit this video because it's about 4 minutes long, but this is one of my fellow Grosvenor Fellows, and this is his capstone project. So you can get an idea of a project that might be suitable for this, or something another teacher was doing. So Susan's posted that link, and you can check that out at your leisure. And as Susan said, it was just officially announced. Each year, National Geographic looks around the world for storytellers, innovators, scientists, conservationists, and they bring them into the Nat Geo family. So usually it's between 12 to 15 people, and this year they picked me. So I don't know if I was nominated by someone in the education staff or another explorer, but absolute dream come true to become part of the National Geographic family. So for June, for Explorers Week, I'll be in Washington presenting my work at workshops, taking part in panels, meeting their explorers, networking. It's going to be absolutely incredible and should do some amazing things for Exploring by Seat Your Pants to have Nat Geo kind of amplify and support the project. Okay, so we're going to wrap tonight. I know time's running out, but I'm going to share with you a couple other websites that I use in my classroom that are just incredible. I wish, we had more time to do website tours and such, but it's amazing how quickly an hour and a half can go. And I'm sure at this stage you're ready to hear me mute my microphone and sign off for the night. So Google Cultural Institute, that's the name it used to be, but now it's just Google Arts and Culture. So a simple search of Google Cultural Institute will bring up the website. And it's broken up into 3 main parts that we use. The first one is the art project. So they've gone around the world. They've photographed sculptures and art in high resolution and posted them. So you can zoom in so close on the paintings and the sculptures. You can see the individual strokes and the canvas in behind, and you can see it all in high resolution. What's neat about it is, let's say you go in and you search, Van Gogh's Starry Night. It gives you information about the painting, the artist, what kind of painting style it is, the history of the painting, all kinds of things like that. Then there's the little street view guy there. So if you click on that, it'll take you to the Museum of Modern Art, where the painting's actually on the wall, and then you can go on a virtual tour of that museum, looking at the other works of art and looking at the other paintings in that much detail. So it's a really cool tool for art, showing the difference between oil or pastels or watercolors or we call these great rainy day activities as well, or indoor recess activities on technology. There's historic moments, so they're collecting things, from historic things like Nelson Mandela, the World Wars, and such, things like letters, artifacts, videos, and they're putting them all together in these amazing walkthrough sort of presentations. You can even have a prisoner from Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela was held, to give you a tour of the facility. There's the things Google are doing with their cameras and technology and putting online are absolutely incredible. In fact, the third one is World Wonders. They've taken those cameras around the world, the 360 cameras, and now you can go on tours of all the UNESCO World Heritage Sites and check them out with your classroom, or turn your class onto them, activities for when they finish their work and such. Just really amazing things you can do now with Google Cultural Institute. Google Expeditions is coming soon. I don't know if anyone's been lucky enough to have them test at your school, but we had them visit, and the whole school got to try out the cardboard, the goggles, and it was tons of fun, especially the underwater ones. It totally blew the students' minds. So keep your eyes out for Google Expeditions. It's another step to taking down the walls in your classroom. One of the last tools I want to talk about is Google Earth Engine. So quick search of Google Earth Engine will bring you to the website. And then our favorite thing is time-lapse on the website. And what Google did is they took the last 30 years of satellite imagery of our planet, and they took out all the cloudy days. So you can go anywhere in the world and watch how it's changed over the last 30 years. Whether it's glacier retreat, whether it's urban development in Las Vegas, whether it's the Amazon rainforest or development in Dubai. You can go anywhere in the world with this Google Earth Engine, go to the time lapse, and see how it's changed over 30 years. Another really fun website to play around with. And lastly, I don't have a fancy slide for it because I just added this yesterday. The new Google Earth has launched. So the website's up here at the top, and I'm sure the link will be shared. Oh, there's Susan, excellent. There's a couple YouTube videos you can watch on your leisure. They're not very long, they're just a minute or so. And there's 4 really cool things that I've been using. One is called Voyager. So they have a whole showcase of interactive guided tours, and they're adding more and more and more that you can take your students on. So there's about 50 immersive stories now, and my favorite so far is the BBC Earth one, the Natural Treasures one. It's incredible. So check out Voyager on Google Earth. Feeling lucky, you randomly click, and it takes you to one of 20,000 places around the world where they have kind of like, not so much a tour, but neat places where there's knowledge cards and such that you can dig a little bit deeper. So it's an adventure. Go around the world and discover. 3D imagery, so you can turn this on or off, and you can see cities, the Grand Canyon and such, in a more 3D kind of environment. And then this is home. This is one that my classroom enjoys. It's one of the Voyager stories, but it allows you to check out homes around the world, whether it's in Peru or a Bedouin tent, and there's more homes coming in the coming months. So Google Earth, the new Google Earth, is another really cool tool you can use in your classroom. Right now we're running a big idea challenge with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So Borreo is a company that in Chile is taking fishing nets, recycling them so they don't go in the ocean, and making things like skateboards and nets. So we're challenging students now to look at their communities, find a problem, maybe it's unique, maybe to the community or a global impact, but to come up with an action plan to solve the problem and to build their own presentation, whether it's a YouTube video or a PowerPoint or a slideshow, and then we'll pick the top few ones with the guys from Borreo, and we'll send skateboards to those students. So just a cool challenge we're doing, and that will go live on the website shortly. There was a newsletter released, but it'll go up on the website soon. Yeah, that's right. I can see someone saying they saw the skateboard. They also have sunglasses, and they'll be doing more products as well. There's more fishing net than they can keep up with. And, oops, went too far. So that kind of brings to the end. It's a little bit of a whirlwind. You know, bringing my passion into the classroom for nature, for science, has totally changed the way I teach. It's excited my students. It's excited me. It's gotten me more excited about being in the classroom. It's what's available and what's out there, if you look around, is absolutely incredible. Obviously, I'm more than happy to stick around and answer a few more questions. I'm more than happy to talk to any of you if you want to send an email through Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. You can see the Twitter feeds up there. You can see Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants on YouTube if you want to subscribe and start hanging out and seeing what we have up there. It's been incredible. I can't wait to see what's coming. Like, I know it's just going to keep getting better and better for classrooms. I'm having a blast. You know, I wanted to open the door, crack the window of my classroom, but I blew the walls right off, and I'm not looking back. So I hope I've inspired some of you to check out some new things. I hope you'll be exploring by the seat of your pants, becoming Nat Geo educators. Yeah, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. Please reach out. I'm accessible. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Susan, so much for moderating, for getting those links up, and just making everything run so smoothly.
Okay, Jill, that was awesome. So inspiring. You did a great job. I'm going to quickly go to this slide, and I just put some links into the chat for folks, and I'll explain that, and then I'll put it back to your last slide because there may be some questions for you. That was just amazing. You are clearly, you know, your funniest line I thought was, when I'm bored in my spare time, I make memes. And I thought, yeah, when are you bored in your spare time? You have 2 full-time jobs and you're a dad. And anyway, awesome. Such great stuff. I'm a retired educator who still I do a lot of work with teachers, including this kind of thing. But I will absolutely be sharing with all the teachers that I connect with information about your initiative, your website, and all of those great ideas. So fantastic. So folks, there is a link in the chat that I put to a feedback form, which is really, really important for OTF. They use these feedback forms to generate funds for next year and to help them drive the programming. So please do take a few minutes and fill that out. There's also a certificate that you can print if you still do that kind of thing. And there's also a link to the resources page. So I've been working on that during the session tonight, and it's pretty much ready to go. The only thing that will be added to it is the recording. So once I turn off the recording, which I will do momentarily, I'll get a link and I'll add that to the resources page. You'll probably also get a link, or sorry, an email from OTF tomorrow that has that information. So thank you everyone for your enthusiasm for this topic and for sticking around till this time of night. And again, Jill, that was just magnificent. Really enjoyed it. I'm going to turn off the recording now, and then I'll put it back to your slide.